Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and good night, wherever you are in the world, whatever time you're watching this. I hope you are having a great time. On the side of me, actually, is a Sherlock Holmes image. That image right there, Sherlock Holmes with the old school, was it pipe? Yeah, the old school pipe in the mouth. That's it there behind me. Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes was created by a British author called Arthur Conan Doyle. And he also wrote a book called The Red-Headed League. And it was about a bunch of guys who tunneled into a bank vault in 1891. That's when he wrote that book. And a gentleman called Anthony Gavin read the book and got inspired. And Anthony Gavin was a former, he was a former Army Royal Fusilier, and his discipline was immaculate, resourcefulness immaculate, and his teamwork was also immaculate. And he put a team of individuals together. He put a gentleman called Reginald Tucker, aka Reg. He was allegedly a career criminal, con artist, good in blending in and getting information without any suspicion. So I think it was him that went out to the vault and he was able to measure it with his hands and his umbrella. So for everybody else to know, there was also another gentleman called Thomas Stevens, aka Tommy the Glove, a veteran in safe cracking, and he was an expert locksmith, and his knowledge of vault security was immaculate for this particular job, should I say. And there was also a guy called Alexander Roberts. He was a tunneling expert. Made sure that the tunnel that the tunnel that they were building wouldn't collapse. So that was his job. And he was able to do a good job, because when they let the explosives off into the tunnel and it dropped down, the only thing they had a problem with was the air breathing. Because obviously, it's a tunnel that's when you explode it, and then it's the dust that comes back out of it, and they didn't have any breathing. I don't think they had any breathing equipment to make sure that they will be okay. They also had another gentleman with a walkie-talkie. They had walkie-talkies, and the walkie-talkie was given to another gentleman who was on the roof in one of the buildings in the streets of Baker Street anyway. And his job was to keep them updated if there's anything going on, that if the police are coming in to look at what's happening, or if there's any suspicion or anything, he was able to radio it to them. I don't think in today's generation, we'll ever experience. Then again, I say you never say never, because most of these, if a criminal is going to be committed, it will be committed irrespective of. I remember in 2015 was the last one that was committed, and they went into a vault again, and they were able to get some things out of it. Do you know what I mean? And it's not these jobs always happen on weekends. And so this here is to show you how deep I am underground. I have to come back up with the escalators to go back up. And the underground train station, I think it was 1863 that they completed it and it started working. Obviously they've expanded it as time goes on, or they've built it to make it more comfortable for people. But yeah, 1863, and this happened in 1971, 11th of September 1971. It was a Saturday, so clearly nobody's looking at the bank trying to see what's happening. They've got all the alarms set for it, but they had a few building jobs going on which would trigger the alarms off on the vault. However, they made an agreement with the company that was building the roads to just they will switch it off for a time period, and then let them know when they finish or whatever, switch it off. They had an agreement anyway, whatever it was. But I think that's what they used that to their advantage, the best way I can put it. Long story short, this gentleman called Robert Rowlands, he used to live on the flats in Wimpole Street. And he was able to hear a conversation, and he thought this must be a robbery. So he alerted the police, and he alerted the Metropolitan Police, and the Metropolitan Police, they didn't think it was serious, or they thought it was a joke. So they said, oh, just record it. And he thought, okay, cool, I'll record it. But he sat down and he could still hear the conversation. So he ended up contacting the Scotland Yard. Scotland Yard now happens to have, I think it's the bosses of Metropolitan Police, if the best way I can put it, but they ended up making sure that, they sent off a van to check what's happening. So they sent out a van to check 750 banks in the area, and they also sat down with him to listen to some of it whilst he was recording it. And they said that this could only pick up to 2 miles of what, or 2 miles radius. That was a 2 miles radius that they could hear. The interesting thing is the 2 mile radius that they could hear is one thing, but this Wimpole Street where this gentleman was in is actually not too far from Baker Street itself. And as they sent the van around, it couldn't detect what was going on around it. You had a gentleman called Benjamin Wolf. Benjamin Wolf, he signed off the lease for the building, or the shop. It was called Lesac, and it's written SAC. When you see it in all the images, it's SAC, but the shop was called Lesac. LESAC was the name of the actual shop. Anyway, he paid off he took off the lease, signed it off with his real name. This is how they got to catching him, because a mistake is always made in every crime. There's always a mistake, and this is one of those mistakes. So, he went in, signed off with his full name. Boom, and they were able to say, okay, so you're the person that signed for this one. And I think it's an estimated 1.25 million to 3 million pounds that was stolen from the vault, which would have been about 58 million pound in today's money, from back then anyway. But then it was 1.25 million to 53 million, and they only recovered 231,000 pounds. That's all they recovered from it. But anyway, as we go on to it, I'm reflecting the camera to show you Baker Street Station again. I just came out from it, use the escalators, come up, exit, come down here. So when you get to the exit, you turn right, and this is the bank right here. My cameras, I didn't do a good job here, but yeah, this is a bank here. This is the main entrance of the bank itself, and to the right of it, the Taco Bell, and then the empty shop next to Taco Bell was Lesac. It's called I think somebody called Alibaba or something took it out for a time period. But it's interesting, it's Taco Bell today, where it was chicken in then, so it's always been a fast food location, should I say. Long story, end of it. But as we go on and we move on and we listen to some of the things these people took, because we'll never know what was taken until 2071. I'm not really bothered about what was taken. It's just the fact that they managed to do this under the level of the actual police actually knew what was going on. Thanks to this gentleman, he managed to tell him. A gentleman's name is Robert Rowlands. He managed to tell him, listen, something's happening, and they were able to all tap into it. He managed to get some voices of these people. They were able to know what's going on, but they just couldn't figure out where it was. At one point, they got the bank managers to go into the banks and actually look at the vault system. And the vault system, there was nothing. They actually opened into the bank, went into the vault, looked in there, and they couldn't find anything. So it's like, okay, these guys did a great freaking robbery, man. That's the best way you could put it, because how else do you describe such a situation? You can't describe it in any other way but a perfect job done under the sun. And that's exactly what they did. And this is thanks to a book called The Red-Headed League Criminals. And it was written by Sherlock Holmes, or Arthur Conan Doyle, the real name. And this is the street here. This is the streets on the other side of Baker Street. I was trying to see if I could see where the person was, which building was he on top of, to see what was happening. But you can't really see. He must have been cold as well, because he had to stay there the whole Saturday night and somewhat of Sunday, because Monday morning is when they realized the bank has been robbed. But yes, people, so this here is the streets on the other side. You see it's turned into restaurants and stuff. And it looks good. They've got a whole ton of restaurants there. You can go in there and get some food, eat, and have a good time with your people. And on the other side, boom, Lloyd's Bank is right there. So as I walk back into Lloyd's Bank, let me walk back into Lloyd's Bank right here to the left of me. And that's Baker Street to the left side of it. So I'm going to turn back. I'm going to turn around with this one. But as you see it, that's how the streets, they didn't look the same as what they did look then. But yeah, see, this is it here. And you go further up now to my left. This 185 Baker Street. See, I made sure I let you know. 185 Baker Street, that's what it is. And then there's ATMs here now. ATMs, and then there's a Taco Bell. And then after the Taco Bell, there's the sack shop, but it's empty today. I tried to peep into it. This is how it looked at. Yeah, see, that's how it looked like before. But I tried to peep into it and see if I could see anything. It's an empty shop. But the name has changed obviously in time. Somebody has taken up some business and it hasn't gone the way they wanted, so they just left it. And as it is, it's just an empty place, man. But this is how it looks now. This is, see, it's called Al Baba, I think is the name of it. But it's no longer there. But story dies, finishes. Anyway, people, that was my couple of minutes of looking at this whole story, because it's quite interesting that they managed to get under it. My question is, how did they manage to get underground next to an underground station? This is what I always find more interesting with these guys. It's underground and they got into the underground station. No problems. The shop is still empty, but I think they had what do you call it? They could get under it because of the basement. They had a basement, so you could get under and they could dig and tunnel through and whatever the case. Anyway, people, this Taco Bell used to be Chicken Inn, and then here is the Lloyd's Bank that starts from there, and that's the ATM machines.